subdivision though. We knew it was positive. Whatever it was positive because ACF had said, yeah, we really need to do this. So let's.
Nope, I think you're sitting in my seat.
You're right here.
That's what you want. Oh yeah, it came off my.
Dan, right here.
Okay.
Between. Yep.
Thank you.
You're in the middle on that side.
Welcome to Madison. Yes. I'm Sally Dwyer. I'm Sally Dwyer. Good. Yeah. No. Jeez, we need to emphasize that. No. This is so new.
If everyone wants to come forward, there are seats available up front here. And just get close. Because I'm probably not loud enough already, am I? Hello, everyone. I'm Sam Height from 55 Weston Avenue, LLC, and I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today and supporting our community's economic and social initiatives to help retain and attract hardworking individuals and families to our area. This project started more than 18 months ago, and after iterations of designs and plans, states initiatives, and finance programs, here we are. Because of all of you. 55 Weston Avenue LLC's affordable housing project is finally happening. Yeah. We will be able to provide new housing with a high level of finishes and aesthetic designs to 18 individuals and families looking to relocate to Madison or to stay. And this is just the start. Affordable housing alone cannot be the only magic wand. Initiatives on affordable childcare and workforce development will play crucial roles in moving the needle in our communities. We are fortunate that these topics, normally held in case studies and reports, are now being realized, real results. Through this example of collaboration between private industry and investors and public entities, the town and the state, Madison and the greater Central Maine community are in a special position as the shining star in rural economic development, with housing-based initiatives leading the way. I would first like to introduce Governor Janet Mills. Governor Mills and her administration have focused an incredible amount of resources on addressing the housing shortage in Maine. The lack of affordable housing and workforce housing has been studied to be one of the greatest impediments to Maine's economic growth. In response, Governor Mills has signed into law the Maine Affordable Housing Tax Credit, the single largest state investment in housing in Maine's history. Budgeting $80 million to build more affordable housing in Maine for workers and their families through the Rural Affordable Rental Housing Program, which we have here, and the Low Income Housing Tax Credit Program. Although there is more that can be done, Governor Mills's initiatives are the reason why we are here today and why we will be able to build housing for the economic future of Madison and all of Maine. Everyone, round of applause here for Governor Janet Mills.
Thank you, Sam. Oh, thanks. Thank you, Sam. Thank you to your whole family, especially our family, your family go back some generations in friendship and business and community involvement. I'm proud to be here to help break ground on this latest Height et al. Enterprise. And I want to also acknowledge Senator Pierce and Senator Farron, of course, Representative Tracy Geer, members of the Housing Committee, Special Committee on Housing in the legislature. And so this is an example of what we can do when we seek out appropriate partnerships with private and public entities and get work done. It's my ride. We know how important projects like these are to the town of Madison and to the state of Maine. And as a Western Maine, I'll be there. As a Western Maine product, born and grown up in Farmington, I fully recognize the need for affordable housing everywhere in Western Maine. Earlier this month, we released a study that makes clear that Maine as a whole has an unmet need for housing, not only today, but in years to come, based on population and economic projections, a major need. Of course, Maine's not alone in facing a housing shortage. The entire country is short millions of homes, in part because new housing construction slowed down after the recession of 2008 and 9, and it never fully rebounded. While states across the country have complained about this and are struggling with it, Maine is actually doing some stuff about it. This administration has been focused on housing, on building more housing, on rehabbing and restoring housing stock that exists already, and on strengthening emergency centers and shelters and support services for people who are unhoused. We want to make sure that every person in Maine has a safe place to lay their head at night. Since I took office in 2019, we've authorized almost $285 million, an unprecedented amount, to incentivize building more apartments and homes. These state and federal funds have resulted in 600 new homes so far, with more than 1,000 additional homes under construction right now, and more than 2,000 additional homes in the pipeline. And we're just getting started. 2 years ago, my Maine Jobs and Recovery Plan went into effect. The Jobs Plan included historic funding for innovative housing programs, including the Rural Affordable Rental Housing Program. The demand for that has been so high that we've dedicated another $35 million to it in the most recent budget. And with this funding and funding from Maine Housing, that program alone is expected to create more than 300 new units of rental housing in rural communities statewide. And today we celebrate the groundbreaking of one of the first projects funded by that program. For more than a year, the town of Madison has worked with local developers to build more workforce housing to support the expansion of businesses like TimberHP, who are here today. And thank you, Sam, for your investment in that wonderful enterprise as well. And I understand they're going to be using insulation from TimberHP in this project, of course. I was pleased to celebrate TimberHP's opening earlier this summer at the former Madison Mill. And that event marked the official start of wood fiber insulation production in North America, anywhere in North America. The state provided early support for TimberHP because we knew it would put Maine on the map. But there are things that they still need to fully scale up their business. And to reach full production, TimberHP plans to hire 120 people over the next few years. If there aren't enough quality apartments and homes nearby for those new workers, it'll be almost impossible to recruit and retain people to work there and in any other new business that wants to locate here. We've seen it time and time again across the state. Maine employers like Bath Iron Works and Washburn and Dowdy Shipbuilders and Bigelow Lab, Jackson Lab, have all had a hard time hiring workers because people can't find affordable housing nearby. No business should be held back because of a lack of housing for their employees. The strength of those businesses and the strength of our economy depends on building workforce housing in rural Maine especially. Financing a local housing development in Madison has been kind of difficult because of increased costs of building materials and labor and now mortgage rates. And that's where the Rural Affordable Rental Housing Program came in. Under my jobs plan, Maine Housing provides funding for smaller, affordable rental housing projects in areas and in sizes where traditional projects are not feasible. With funds from this program, developers Sam Height, Brian Eng, and Kara Wilbur will create housing for 18 families in Madison, and they hope to build another 18 in the coming years for a total of 36 units for local families. That's tremendous. As Brian said, the rental housing program, quote, offers a rare opportunity to remove the construction and cost barrier and create new attainable housing for working families. This housing obviously will be within walking distance of downtown Madison. It will support businesses in Madison, including TimberHP, and other neighboring businesses like New Balance, which intends to hire 200 more people in its plant in Skowhegan. Importantly, this housing development is being built in partnership with the local community. Sam and Brian and Kara, who are local Maine developers, worked hard to create buildings that belong here in Madison. And when the community, some members of the community, raised some concerns initially, they listened to those concerns and they adjusted their plans to address them. And that's exactly the type of commitment to community we need. I'm not talking about new housing like California McMansions on the tops of our hillsides, or gated communities in our suburbs, or another form of Levittown style communities. Rather, we need affordable housing that minimizes sprawl and preserves the communities, the local communities, and preserves that sense of place, that sense of community that is one of the special things that we love and the thing that brings people to Maine. Thanks to you, Sam, and other committed partners, we are making progress expanding affordable housing. Clearly, more work remains. The new housing report issued earlier this month shows that the need for affordable housing is only growing. I read something recently that said, home was not built in a day. I agree. Ultimately, we want to build permanent, affordable, comfortable housing for all who need it or who want it here in Maine. And it may mean transforming existing buildings like downtown office buildings in Portland, turning office buildings into multi-use facilities with commercial and rental and retail facilities. We're taking old schoolhouses, historic buildings, and turning them into rental apartments. It may mean more rooming houses and what developers now call single room occupancy units, what I called growing up boarding homes. Workforce housing of a variety of sorts, and affordable housing, and housing certainly for Maine's seniors, comfortable, safe, and affordable. It's going to take long-term planning, and we're engaged with that planning with dedicated partners statewide, including many of you here today. We have to constantly reassess what we're doing, what we're planning, making sure that we fit in the community, do what the community wants and what it needs. As Sam said, in order for an area to succeed, it needs people, and people need housing. So thank you for everything you do, Sam and Brian and Kara, to build more housing in Maine, and Maine Housing as well, being a great partner for us. I look forward to the time when we can tell every person who wants to come here, who wants to live and work in Maine, welcome home. This is your home. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, I'd like to introduce Dan Brennan, Maine Housing Director since 2018. Dan Brennan has served in a number of senior staff positions since 1993, including the Senior Director of Programs, the Director of Energy and Housing Services, the Director of Development, and the Director of Asset Management. Dan and his team, including Mark, Jason, Chris, Nathan, and Billy, and as you see, I didn't use last names because I always hack up marks, have been incredible partners in navigating the financing on this project and have provided a framework for the project as a whole to succeed for many decades. Everyone, please, Dan Brennan.
Thank you, Sam. Congratulations to you and to Kara and Brian. Welcome to the Maine Housing Development community. I know this will be the first of many such celebrations that we're going to do together. Thank you, Governor Mills, for your courageous and visionary leadership. This is a new approach for Maine Housing. Thank you for trusting us with this funding and to create opportunities for talented developers that we haven't had the opportunity to work with before. Thanks to the creation of this program and with the help of the Genesis Community Loan Fund, we are now actively working with dozens of developers that are now entering the affordable housing world. And thanks to Maine's legislature and another example of bipartisanship on housing matters, we now have an additional $35 million to invest in more projects just like this one to benefit rural Maine communities. A portion of that $35 million is already on the street, with applications due in our office in early December. When the legislature and the governor entrust us with money, we accept it and we get it on the street as fast as we can. This project represents innovation, creativity, and a focus on a model of construction that we have to grow in our state. Modular construction in Maine has to be part of our future if we are ever going to get out of this affordable housing crisis. Thank you, KBS. I hope this is one of many such projects that we can have you construct in the future. One thing to keep in mind, we're just beginning, the foundation has just started, and before the snow melts next spring, this building will be up. That's a speed that we don't see in the state, but it can be done and needs to be done more.
Nice.
This approach is a simple, common sense approach that is now gaining popularity across the nation. It demonstrates what we can do when funding is flexible and in the hands of smart people and smart communities. Finally, congratulations, Madison. As the governor said, you didn't give up on Sam, Brian, and Kara, and they didn't give up on you. You are a model of how a community dialogue and cooperation should be. When questions arose, when challenges presented themselves, everyone acted with dignity and respect for one another, which is the way life should be. Someone should coin that phrase. Madison, you have shown the rest of the state how it's done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. I'd like to introduce next Tim Curtis. County Administrator and Madison native, Tim Curtis came into the town manager role in 2015. He was previously an economic development consultant for the town. Tim was instrumental in helping reopen the Madison paper mill as TimberHP, as well as starting this collaboration between the town and my partners to build housing on this site that had been eyed for housing initiatives for nearly a decade. Tim Curtis.
There's New Balance.
Right there. Yes, you notice I'm wearing my New Balance sneakers. Okay. Got to represent the county well. Good afternoon, folks. Let me just take a few minutes to provide a little context for this event. The place that you're standing right now is the site of the Weston Avenue School, which was built in 1925, and for probably 90 years provided jobs for great teachers who were great partners in the community and educated students. I'm probably sure there's a handful of folks standing here today that went to school here at the Weston Avenue School. Not that you started in 1925, but you get the idea. About 2013, the building was torn down. It had no longer been used. The new elementary school down around the corner had been built. And so the town kind of wrestled to what to do with this building. Ultimately, it was decided that it would not be financially feasible to renovate it, even into something like housing. So it was torn down, and as Sam alluded to, that began about 8 consecutive years of the select board trying to encourage housing on this site. And it was met with fits and starts. And what I'd like to just draw out today is a couple of things that I think are important in regards to public-private partnerships to help move things forward. I believe that state government and community government need to incent the market to move. During my time as town manager, I realized that in the entire town of Madison, all the way out to the lake and all the way down to the Skowhegan border and up to Solon and so forth, there's about 2,500 dwelling units that we would call. About 800 of those units are right here in this village area. And a vast majority of the units in this village area are rental units. The housing stock in this area is about 100 years old, which poses a lot of these challenges when you're looking to develop housing. Over the last 3 decades, we tracked how many new homes were being built in Madison, and we never got that number above 10 in any particular year. So the growth was slow, if existing at all. During my 8 years as town manager, the select board oversaw the removal of about 15 properties because they'd fallen into such disrepair that they were either abandoned or deemed to be dangerous. And then I've noticed over the last 2 or 3 years, there are several homes in Madison that have been purchased by outside entities and repurposed not for housing. And so these things kind of highlight the struggle that small towns in central Maine face in regards to housing. So during the last 8 years, I kept wondering, where's the private sector? When is the private sector going to come in and fix this problem for us? And we interacted with lots of folks who really just couldn't make the numbers work. I will give you one example of what I call a small success prior to this project here. There was a contractor who owned property behind Madison High School, and he was able to build duplex units that he rents to folks that are 55 and older. But here's a couple of key things. He owned the property. He was his own contractor, and he was able to build using the prices of pre-pandemic building materials. He was permitted for 14 buildings that would house 2 units each. And to date, only 9 of those buildings have been built, and they're rented, and he has a waiting list. But when I interacted with him and said, hey, when are you going to do the next phase? When are you going to get that done? He says, I really don't have any incentive to do it. The cost is too much for me to do it. So I'm learning as I'm talking with people about what the incentives are for people to build. And just think about it, if you're a landlord, if you own property that you're renting, and perhaps you were able to get $800 a month for that apartment a few years ago, now you're able to get $1,200 or $1,300 a month, and you really haven't had to put anything out to gain that extra revenue. Yeah, your energy costs and your heating costs have gone up, but net, landlords are making more money now, and that takes away the incentive for them to build something new. So, affordable new housing is necessary in our community. This project here helps in several ways. This project actually puts pressure on existing rentals in our area, either to offer more competitive rents or to improve the property that they have. And I don't want to go without saying thank you to the many property owners that are out here today that are doing their best to improve some of the aging housing stock in our area. So thank you very much for the efforts that you are putting in. This new housing project also allows for older generations to downsize, thus freeing up a 3 or 4 bedroom house for a new family to move into, either an existing family in Madison or someone that comes from outside Madison. And then there's tax revenue. This property never generated $1 in taxes over the last 100 years, but now it will. And the tax revenue generated from a $5 million project like this goes a long way to softening the burden for our other taxpayers and some of our most vulnerable residents. It kind of brings me back to public-private partnerships. Local and state governments need to incent the market to move. We've heard a lot about the Rural Affordable Rental Program, and I think that's a great program, and I'm glad to see it kind of come to fruition here. For those of you who went through this process here in Madison, Sam alluded to the 18 months. That included public hearings, a special town meeting, planning board meetings, and the town got a little bit of pushback, if you remember, because we offered this site to these developers for the high price of $1. But that was our contribution as the local government. It was our incentive for them to make this project happen. And I think we're going to reap back a pretty significant return on that investment. Madison is certainly not alone. The same struggles are present all throughout Somerset County and all throughout the state. So I applaud the governor and Maine Housing for their efforts. I respect the risk that Sam and Kara and Brian are taking on this, and I plan to continue to do the best I can in my capacity as Somerset County Administrator to continue to move our region forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. That's great.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to introduce Denise Ducharme. She's serving as the current town manager for Madison after being recently appointed by the Select Board in August 2023. Denise worked previously for the state for 20 years as an auditor and unclaimed property manager and was in the private sector as a software consultant. Denise has been a valued partner in this project, and my partners and I can clearly understand the importance she puts on the overall health and success of Madison. Denise.
I'm a little bit shorter. Somebody once said it's really tough going after a former communications specialist, so bear with me as I have no written notes. I wanted to do this from the heart. I'm grateful to be included in this project. It was well in place and underway before I took office, but I want to ensure Sam and Brian and Kara that the town of Madison will do everything in its power through me and through the select board to follow through on any of the commitments that were made before I took office, and to do whatever else we can to encourage the use of the property and bring in families to Madison that need this affordable housing. So I want to thank Sam and Brian and Kara for your commitment to Madison. Very much appreciated. I want to thank everybody else that came today to remind you that Madison is a vibrant and thriving community because we have some great economic development going on here. And I want to shout out to Heather Johnson as an ally in that regard. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, I would like to introduce Sally Dwyer. Sally worked for Franklin Savings Bank from 1998 to 2017 and was the branch manager of their Skowhegan location for many years. She is the past president of the Skowhegan Chamber of Commerce and the past president of the Skowhegan Rotary Club. Throughout her career, Sally has been a strong advocate for the community, and in 2002 was named Skowhegan Citizen of the Year. Sally?
Google, I guess. Jeez, thank you.
Governor's office.
I see, wow. Thank you guys all for coming today. This is very, very exciting, and as I indicated to our current town manager, I get a little excited when I see a good project like this going on, and I am really, really happy for it. Also, thank you for all of you guys coming today, the partners that are working with this. Just a little in background on me that Sam didn't tell you. I've lived in Madison for 23 years. Prior to my role on the Madison Select Board, I was a boring old banker for many years. I retired in 2017, and 2 years into my retirement, I was asked to run for the Madison Select Board by one of our local folks. After much thought and having no experience in municipal administration, I decided I'd give it a try. And surprisingly, I won the seat. Just recently, I was reelected for another 3-year term. It has truly been a learning experience, and I still have much to learn. In my role as a select board member, I've been encouraged by the energy coming into Madison. It's very palpable, and it's very exciting. TimberHP is up and producing, and it's awesome to see lights on in the building and the parking lots filling up. We all know that there's a need for safe, affordable housing, not just in Madison, but statewide, as we've all indicated here today. Our many businesses here need to have housing available for their employees who choose to live here. I wish to offer up many thanks to Sam, Kara, and Brian for this project and investing in Madison and having the faith to do that. And please let's support them as much as possible and hope that this is just the start. Thank you very much.
Nice.
Thank you, Sally, and thank you to all of our speakers. For those of you that were hoping to get away with not hearing a speech from me, now's your chance.
Down, Brad, down.
Thank you to all of our speakers today, some of which whom had very little notice to prepare. So thank you for that. As we just heard, we have a community that cares about its people and its future. On behalf of myself and my partners of 55 Weston Avenue, LLC, Brian and Kara, thank you. Thank you all for being part of this incredible and exciting momentum. Being part of a fourth-generation family automobile business in Skowhegan, Farmington, and Madison, I am pre-wired to focus and many times hyper-focus on the importance of community, its future, but also its past, and the connections in between. In 1911, 112 years ago, my great-grandfather Walter established a Ford Motor Auto dealership in Skowhegan, selling Henry Ford's Model T. At the time, there was only one automobile in the area. During the initial sales process, much like today, customers would have to learn the features of the new Model T, but even more apparent, they would need to learn how to operate and drive an automobile. My grandfather was therefore a salesman, a driver's ed instructor, a part magician, definitely a risk taker, an innovator, and a dentist. A few teeth were lost while cranking the engine over. I am not claiming to be any of these things. However, what the Model T represented to the American people is an important comparison to our housing project. The Model T was an affordable vehicle that provided more opportunity for Mainers, especially rural Mainers, to realize their American dream. The affordability was the key. Henry Ford set out to build an automobile that could be affordable not only to his factory workers, but affordable for the masses. In order to achieve this, Ford researched the meatpacking and grain industry production methods and developed the first modern automobile assembly line that started in Dearborn in 1913. As vehicles moved down the line, specialized workers and tradespeople would install their parts and finish their individual tasks over and over again. The efficiencies allowed Ford to provide more vehicles at a lower cost. In 1908, the Model T sold for $825, and by 1925, it sold for only $260. Ford produced under 10,000 units in 1908, and by 1923, Ford could produce over 2 million units. Shipping was also an integral part in the pricing and availability. In Skowhegan, my great-grandfather would receive the Ts in boxes, 6 per boxcar on a train, to be assembled on site and ready for consumers after mud season. Walter sold 400 the first year. And as the Heights continue to provide families of affordable transportation for the next 112 years. So nice history lesson, right? But what does this have anything to do with the housing project? First, the dooryard design buildings we'll be using on our projects, just like our project here, are modular base built on an assembly line at the KBS facility in South Paris, Maine, shipped by truck and set 6 boxes per building by our local contractors. By using modular designs, as we previously heard, we can not only mitigate the cost of production on the assembly plant through efficiencies, just like Henry Ford perfected, but we can produce the final product quicker and with less labor in the aggregate. And just like those, I didn't write this, so hang with me. Just like those vehicles showing up on the boxcar, they would come in, we'd assemble them. My great-grandfather previously sold hemlock, bark, hay. He had a livery stable, and they used the old barn. They put the cars together because they couldn't be used on the road until after mud season. So what we're going to do, as we heard, our final product will be ready before mud season here in Madison. So basically, we are providing the Model T version of a home, the most reliable, state-of-the-art, and affordable vehicle and now housing in the market. But unlike the Model T that provided the American dream by allowing Americans to be more mobile, our modular houses provide the new American dream. Affordable, well-built, well-appointed houses located in rural Maine communities that will attract and retain young professionals and downsizing seniors to stay and to lay roots in our vibrant communities with greater access to housing, jobs, and services. At Maine Housing's Affordable Housing Conference last week, Governor Mills spoke about housing the Maine way. Quality homes like we used to inhabit in our tight-knit villages. Communities where we were closer physically and forged tighter bonds more easily because of proximity. 55 Weston Ave here is a walkable half-mile or less from the junior high, Hannaford, TimberHP, Weston Woods and Waters, the post office, the Main Street Playground, Rennie's, Thomas Field, and all of the other village businesses. It's a location from which these young professionals and downsizing seniors can come together and strengthen the fabric of this great community. In closing, I've got a lot of thank yous. So first, Governor Mills, her cabinet, and her administration, thank you. Heather Johnson, Senator Brad Farron, Senator Teresa Peirce, and Representative Jack Ducharme. I know there's others here, but I didn't get the notes ahead of time. Thank you. Our speakers today, my partners, Kara Wilbur and Brian Eng. Our families, Caleb, Renee, Mike, Henry, Oliver, Marshall, Phyllis, Amanda, and Hadley. Our contractors, our on-site contractors are all from Norridgewock, Skowhegan, and Madison. And a special thank you, as this project is almost 2 years in the making. We closed with Maine Housing 10 days ago. And as you can see, we already have the foundation walls started. And even better yet, and simultaneously, the modular buildings have gone online 2 days ago in South Paris. A special thank you to McKinney & Sons, DMO Landscaping, Fitzgerald Custom Concrete, Fine Line Paving, Central Maine Septic, Maine Roof Solutions, Travers Electric, Provincial Plumbing, Madison Electric Works, Bob's Cash Fuel, Ware Butler, our partners with Maine Housing, Peter Drum Esquire, Open Lot Group, KBS Builders, Backyard ADUs, Revision Energy, the Genesis Fund, Haley Ward, Woodhull, High Tech Fire Protection, Keeley Crane, the Madison Highway Department, the Madison Fire Department, the Somerset Sheriff's Department, the Madison Select Board, the Madison Anson Sanitary District, Maine Rural Water, Madison Planning Board, the Madison community as a whole, and the greatest state in the nation, the state of Maine.
Yeah.
Let's celebrate today, but continue to work for tomorrow. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Good job. Nice.
So this is obviously a hybrid groundbreaking. We broke ground 5 days ago, but we'll do the ceremonial groundbreaking here. Kara and Brian coming up.
All right.
Pretty exciting.
We're all the same size.
Yeah, we're gonna do a bunch. I got
Watch out, front row.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, put, this is
Tracy, here you go.
Sally, come up. Tim.
Me too.
Jack. Jack, go ahead.
We'll get you.
Yeah, Karen and I will. Just like we shared.
In the back.
Jack, I wanted to mention you.
That's right. Oh. You're fine.
So we'll shovel it and then we'll toss it in front. All right?
Shovel and toss it in front.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Jack. Oh, Jack got it.
I was going to say
If any of the Madison Select Board or Planning Board are here, get a photo. Joel, get in. Brian and Kara, you're still kind of part of this? Yeah, I hope. Yeah, go for it. Ready? 1, 2, 3, Brad, you want in on this? Yes. Sure. Contractors, Sam.
Madison from TimberHP. They wanted me to speak to one of the
Michael!
So I'll do that.